What's up YouTube, Oliver here. In today's video we're going to take a look at an app called Notability. Now this is available for both iOS and Mac. The iOS app is a universal app, so it is available for both iPhone and iPad, and you can download the Mac app straight from the Mac App Store. It is a fantastic application. If you're not aware what Notability is, it's a note-taking app. So basically you can do handwritten notes, you can also do type notes, you can add images, voice recordings and much more, but we'll have a look at that in detail later on in this video. The iPad app combined with the Apple Pencil, if you do have an iPad Pro, is a fantastic note-taking experience, ideal for students and people that take a lot of notes for business purposes and so on. So let's have a greater look at both of the apps. So we're now on the iPad. I should just point out a couple of things first. I am, as you can probably see, running the iOS 11 beta, and therefore if there are any glitches or anything like that, it's probably down to the software, the iOS, rather than anything to do with Notability. So let's just jump into Notability here. This is the first screen that you're presented with. Basically, your notes are in two sections. So you've got a left-hand column which has your subjects and your dividers, and then a right-hand column where your notes are. So basically, your notes are contained in subjects, and then dividers can hold the subjects a bit like a folder, so you can group together your subjects. So I'll just go along the line here from left to right and explain what each option there does. So edit allows you to just move things around. I'll show you that once I create a couple of dividers, and then you can see what I mean. Share, if you select a note and you want to share that, basically you can send it to any of those places. It will be a PDF, or you can go to other apps. What that does is it converts it to a PDF first, and then it will give you a share sheet based on that, so you can open it in any app that would handle a PDF. Further along you've got the plus, so you can create subjects and dividers. Let's create a divider and call it business, and then within that we are going to create a subject and we'll call it YouTube. So going back to the edit sign there, basically what you can do is you can move these dividers around if you want. You can also move the subjects within dividers, and if we have a look at the settings, this little cog appears while we're here, and basically with a divider you can only change the name or delete it. With a subject you have the option to change the name, you also can choose the colour, and you can also enter a password so your notes are protected there. That's basically how you can edit things. You've got a search option here that allows you to search within your notes for note titles and so on. And this option here allows you to import notes. Now this means that basically if you're using any cloud services, you can import files, say PowerPoints, PDFs, and bring those straight into a Notability note that you can start writing all over. If you want to import from iCloud, you can. If you're in iOS 11, you can use the Files app. If you're not using iOS 11, you would say if you're in iOS 10, you'd be able to use the iCloud Drive app, and you can basically just go to the share sheet from the file that you want to import, and it'll give you the option to copy to Notability if it's a supported format. So let's just go into the YouTube subject here. Along the bottom you've got your main options, so you've got auto backup, means you can back your notes up as PDFs to any cloud services. If you're using iCloud, it'll automatically back up to iCloud, which is what I prefer to do because it also means you can access it on your other devices. Obviously manage accounts, that's your log in and log out. You've got your themes, light and dark. Dark theme is basically just a black background with lighter text. Personally I prefer the light theme. Colourful subjects, what that basically means is your subjects here have got like bold backgrounds, solid backgrounds. You can choose to just have a little bullet point if you prefer it like that. Personally, I think it stands out more with full colourful subjects. Document settings are things like your titles, whether you want to include the date and time in the default title. Your note papers and backgrounds, we'll go into that in a bit more detail once I jump into the Note UI. Your settings here, things like choosing your fonts, your styles, basically your default font settings when you go to type a note. You've got your check spelling, and you've got tap anywhere, which basically means wherever you tap in the note you'll start typing automatically. Handwriting, so you can choose straight lines. I'll demonstrate this in a moment, but if you just basically hold once you've drawn a line, it'll convert that to a straight line. You can tap and hold to enter zoom mode. You've got left-handed mode and palm detection. iOS sleep timer, that's a handy feature because if you're using it, say in a lecture, and there might be a bit of a pause while you're listening, if your iPad, depending on how you've got it set up, obviously after something like about 30 seconds, the screen will go off to save battery life. That could, however, be a problem. And web clip, basically you can just add a password to protect your web clip. We'll look at those more within the notes themselves, but it's basically like a screenshot of a web page. Further along, you've just basically got your user guide there, your information about Notability and Ginger Labs, who's the developer, and then the bin, which is quite easy, self-explanatory. You just basically tap that, you can select notes, and then it gives you the option to delete them. So let's create a new note. Firstly, if you want to change the title, you can tap in here. give your note a title. We can have a look. So the share option, it's very similar to as before, just converts your notes to PDFs. The little arrow, basically that allows you to just undo once you start adding content, and your main tools along the top here. And what I love about this app is it's just so simple and easy to use. There's no fussy interface, and it's just really nice. So we're in the text tool here, and we'll tap where I want to type. You can choose your font here, you can adjust the size, you can choose a colour, you can make it bold if you wanted to, and type something. And you can use these settings to basically add tabs and so on. Now if you want to add a style to your favourites, these three heart icons basically allow you to add that, so you can then, if you tap on it, it'll apply the style. If you tap and hold, it allows you to alter what the styles for your favourites are. Very useful if you're going to be constantly going backwards and forwards between different heading styles and body styles. And then you've got lists, so you can have numbers, bullets, and just regular paragraph. Pen tool, I'm going to switch over to my Apple Pencil for this part. Now, personally, I love the Apple Pencil, and it's a really seamless experience. If you're going to, use Apple Pencil with Notability, it's like pen on paper, especially with the new 10.5-inch iPad Pro, which is what I'm using here, because it's just with the new Apple Pro Motion, the latency is just practically none. Obviously, if you don't have an iPad Pro, you'll not be able to use the Apple Pencil. You can still use this. There's lots of third-party styluses out there. Now within the pencil tool, you've got basically a standard line, and you've got pressure sensitivity. That's an option with the Apple Pencil. You can of course disconnect the Apple Pencil and use your finger. Different thicknesses of line and your different colours. You've got a couple of pages there. Just to show you how this works, it's just really neat. Hello world. And honestly, if you were trying this out, you've got to try this if you haven't before. It's just like pen and paper when you're writing with the Apple Pencil. You have a highlighter tool. You can choose your colour and your thicknesses and that kind of thing, and basically you can just highlight things. You can also highlight text. One thing worth pointing out, it doesn't have any handwriting recognition, so you can't search handwriting within notes. Your eraser tool here just basically lets you, erase things like so. Scissor tool, if you basically click on that, and then you've got two options, a standard box or freeform. So if I just draw around this here with my Apple Pencil, it then just lets me move that around. You can scale it, rotate it, and so on. And then you've also got your hand tool, which just lets you move the note around without writing anything. Now you've got this option here to record. Now you can record just by tapping on it, a section of voice. So say if you're in a lecture and the lecturer was talking, you wanted to quickly record that and put it alongside. Really handy feature. Basically what you can do there is, I'll show you, you can play it back, just the volume, and you have something called note replay. And if you basically write anything whilst you're recording, it'll play back the writing as the voice is being played. So say as someone was talking, you're writing it down, it'll basically play what you're writing in line with the recording of the voice, so you can see. And you can add as many different voice recordings as you want. When you go to that cog and you go to manage recordings, basically you have a list of any recordings that you've created, and you can play those all back. So that is the voice recordings. If we go to plus, you can add photos, take a photo, figure, web clip, and stickies. So obviously the photos are self-explanatory. A figure basically just lets you import you can draw a little sketch here. You can just do like a free-form sketch, or you can go to a shape tool if you want to have a circle, and so on. And you can adjust the sort of options for whatever you want. Your colours and your fill and your stroke and that kind of thing. And then basically, if you go to done, it just imports that like an image. Other things you can do, you can import a web clip, which is basically just a screenshot of a web page. So let's just put Google here and press done, and then basically it puts that screenshot there. If you tap on it and you want to basically go back into that, if you just tap browser, it then brings the in-app browser up, so you can go to that page. And stickies, bit like a post-it note. You can either have blank lines, grid, or you can type, but if you just basically tap on it, it gives you like a little note, and you can write whatever you want. If you tap it, if you want to move it round, you'll notice it doesn't once you've placed it, but if you tap it with two fingers, you get all those options back. Settings, you can choose your paper. You've got various different colours for your backgrounds there, and you can also choose lines. Personally, I like to use the thin line. It's with the Apple Pencil. Information is just basically dates modified and created and so on, and your help is the same thing as before, just the user guide. So basically that's everything inside utilities. And the page browser right on the far right hand side there, Basically, you can switch between how many pages. You can copy and paste if you want to duplicate a page. You can clear a page and so on. Add another page if you want. And you've got different options to scroll between pages. You can either just scroll, or you can use this arrow, and you can also tap if you've got lots of pages. You can just enter a number in there. Easy way to jump between. If you tap the little bookmark, basically your bookmark pages appear there, and you can search within your note by going to that option. Like I mentioned, it doesn't search handwriting, there's no recognition, but it does search text. On the bottom right hand corner, all that basically does, if you press that magnifying glass, it brings up a zoom function where the bottom section of your screen is enlarged. So if you weren't using the Apple Pencil, it's quite useful because you can get in really accurately, but you can also pinch to zoom anywhere, and just write if you want to, be really accurate with it. Back to one of the features I mentioned before, which was important notes. This is a template of Moleskin, and if it's something you're interested in, you can get a hold of these at their free downloads. There's loads of templates for all sorts of different things. So you can just zoom in and you can write down details. I find it really useful to be able to use this particular template and do like my weekly planning and so on. Well, basically, I think I've covered all of the features on the iPad version, and we'll jump a bit and have a look at the Mac version in just a second, and I'll show you how it all syncs. But it is an absolutely excellent app. With the Apple Pencil, it's completely seamless, and I would highly recommend it. The iPad app, it's around about $9.99 in the App Store, I believe, as of the time of filming. I will put all the links in the description, but it is well worth it if you take notes all the time. So now let's jump over to the Mac and have a look at the Mac app. You can get this from the Mac App Store. It's also around about £9.99. But it's obviously all synced over iCloud and that kind of thing. For me, it's a great companion. This is the same note, if you can remember, from Notability on the iPad. And it's probably a good time to point out that notes in Notability are saved as vector graphics, so no matter how much you zoom in and that kind of thing, they're always crisp, really good quality. It does look pretty much exactly the same. I'll just basically go through a few settings. Now, the Mac app unfortunately doesn't have as many options as the iOS app. It does look very similar, however there's a few settings that are missing. Basically, if you go to the preferences, there's not very many options. Just you get your default note settings and fonts. You can choose your backup options, and then your iCloud on and off, but there's no option to choose themes. There's no option to choose colourful subjects, nothing like that. So unfortunately, there is a few things lacking. And you can choose to have note thumbnails on. And I'll show you that if you go to view, and you can choose to have your note thumbnails. But personally, I prefer it without the thumbnails, because if you've got lots of notes, it's quite difficult to view them because the thumbnails take up quite a lot of space. As you can see, you basically get your all notes, your unfiled notes, like everything there that was on the iPad. It's practically a mirror image. And I'll just quickly go through what different options you get in the menu bar first. So you've just got your about and your preferences, which I just showed. File, you can create your new notes, you can import and export, print, you can just basically edit kind of format options and inserts. Same things here. You've got your different tools, which are also at the top of the application. In your view, you can zoom in and out, etc., and choose how you want to sort your notes, modify, creation and name. Obviously your window options and help, pretty self-explanatory. Now you'll notice there's a lot fewer options when it actually comes to creating the notes itself as well. So if I just create a new note, you don't have any control over the paper. There's no setting to choose what paper you want to have for the background. Basically, the options along the top are to create your notes and search, and then you can choose to remove the sidebar, which I quite like. It's a really nice minimal note-taking application instead of using something like Word. It is, obviously, for a Mac app, it's going to be different to an iPad because it's not touchscreen. It's to be used with a trackpad or mouse, so it's got to be designed differently. You can turn the side on and off, the drawer, if you like, where your notes are organised. And then, obviously, you can PDF. If you have any recordings, you get the zip option there. You obviously your notes in rich text format. Your zoom level, fit width, iPad zoom, whatever. And then basically the same sort of options on the iPad. You get your pen tool as well. You can just draw freehand using the trackpad or the mouse. Obviously your font options are all controlled up here and so on. Your highlight, again, you can just sort of freeform highlight. If you want to adjust any settings of your pen, if you head over to the sort of brush, this brings up your formatting menu, and you basically get the same sort of thing on the iPad. So you can choose uniform, variable, your widths and your colours, and it's the same with the highlighter again. Your rubber, you don't have any settings, but it's self-explanatory. and your selection tool, but you don't have like a freeform selection. You can only draw a rectangular selection. Again, you can do your voice recording, pretty self-explanatory. You can view your recording. It is quite similar. You can also have note replay, which is a nice touch. Now you can bookmark pages, and you've got your page manager. If you come down to this option, you can just view bookmarked, annotated all, and so on. You can go down to the plus to create your subjects and your dividers. It is, as I say, really useful if you're going through notes that you have taken on your iPad like this, and you just wanted to view them on your iMac or your MacBook, because you can go through them on a bigger screen, you can read them, good revision, good recap. And it is great, like I mentioned, if you want to set up notes. Say, I'll give a quick example. And this is basically a note that I've just imported. It was a PDF document rather, which I've imported as a note. And as you can see, it's the same template I had used before, but you could have anything. You could have slide handouts, and it's easier because you can do it all from the Mac within seconds. Otherwise, you've got to go into the iPad, go into the Files app, so it is quite handy. However, that's basically a summary of Notability on the Mac. It does have a lot of features. It's a great companion to the iPad app, and I would recommend it if you're going to get them both together, because it's just great to be able to access all your handwritten notes on your Mac, read through them, organise them, sort them, and import things, and just basically set your notes up. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope it was able to help you make an informed decision if you're thinking about buying Notability, either for iOS or for the Mac. And of course, I'll leave all the links to everything I mentioned in the description, including links to where you can download Notability. A big thank you to Ginger Labs, who provided the code for Notability so I could bring this review to you. Of course, if you like the video, please thumbs it up, comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this coming your way very soon. Thanks for watching, bye for now.